Devastating struggle. Single mom's quarters for Formula CEO's shocking offer at 3 a.m. The clock ticked ominously toward midnight as Jessica sat in her dimly lit kitchen, the flickering bulb overhead casting long shadows across the table. Each tick echoed in her chest, a painful reminder of her dwindling supplies. She was down to her last quarter, a mere coin that could buy a few ounces of formula for her baby boy, Caleb. Panic clawed at her throat, making it hard to breathe. How could she possibly stretch this any further? What kind of mother couldn't he provide for her own child? Just as despair settled in, the screen of her phone lit up, startling her. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen like a shooting star, a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. "Meet me at the corner diner at 3 a.m. I have an incredible opportunity for you," it read. Her heart raced. Who was this person? What opportunity could possibly turn her life around? She felt a shiver run down her spine, a mixture of fear and curiosity. Was it a trap? Or a blessing in disguise? A million thoughts swirled in her mind, but one thing was clear. She could not afford to ignore this chance. With trembling hands, she stuffed the quarter into her pocket and grabbed her worn-out jacket. In that moment, the weight of her desperation propelled her out the door. The streets were quiet, too quiet. The cool breeze brushed against her cheeks, but her heart felt like it was ready to leap out of her chest. As she reached the diner, its neon lights blinked erratically, illuminating the empty parking lot. She hesitated at the door, her mind racing. Was this wise? A single mother following a shadowy figure in the dead of night? But the thought of Caleb's hungry cries pushed her forward. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." At that very moment, a sleek black car pulled up, the engine humming softly in the stillness. The driver's window slid down, revealing a man in a tailored suit and slicked back hair, a striking contrast to the emptiness surrounding them. He shot her a confident smile, but there was something unsettling in his eyes. "Jessica, right?" he asked, as if he had been waiting for her. A chill raced down her spine. Who was this man? And what exactly did he want? As she stood frozen, every nerve ending screamed alarm. This could either be the lifeline she desperately needed or a plunge into darkness she couldn't escape. She needed to make a choice, and fast. What was the shocking offer waiting for her? Jessica swallowed hard, her pulse quickening as she tried to decipher the man before her. The silver cufflinks on his wrists gleamed under the diner's flickering neon, but they felt more like shackles than symbols of success. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice surprisingly steady despite the confusion swirling inside her. "Just a friend," he replied, leaning slightly out of the window. "My name is Ryan, and I said I have an opportunity for you." He gestured toward the diner, inviting her to join him. A mix of skepticism and desperation forced her to take a cautious step forward. The prospect of a break from her relentless struggle was tantalizing, yet every instinct warned her it was too good to be true. She hesitated, glancing back at the dark, empty street behind her. "What kind of opportunity?" she asked, forcing the words out as a steady breath quivered at her lips. Ryan's smile broadened. "A way out. I know you're having a tough time, and I can help, but it comes with expectations." His voice dropped to a confidential tone, and every word hung heavy in the air. Jessica shifted her weight nervously. "Expectations? Let us talk inside." Inside the diner, the fluorescent lights buzzed, illuminating the greasy booths and plastic menus. It felt like stepping back in time. The smell of stale coffee hung in the air. Once seated in a booth at the back, Ryan leaned closer. "You're a smart woman, Jessica. I've been watching you struggle, and I see potential. There's a project I'm starting. A business venture that needs someone like you, dedicated and resilient." Jessica's brows furrowed. "What kind of project? I don't even have a job." "I can change that. With a small investment, you could be in charge of a team that helps single parents like yourself. It's low risk, high reward. And best of all," he paused for dramatic effect, his eyes locking onto hers. You'll earn enough to never worry about diapers or formula again. Her heart raced, hope igniting her thoughts. What's the catch? Ah, I knew you'd ask. He leaned back, crossing his arms. The catch is you'll need to commit to a few informal tasks for me. Informal? Like what? Ryan smirked, every detail about him exuding a polished charm that felt slightly too smooth. Just some networking. Some persuasive engagements. Jessica narrowed her eyes. Persuasive? Are you talking about? Don't think of it as anything sinister, he interrupted, holding up a hand. Just a way for you to connect with influential people. I promise you this, it won't hurt anyone. Just deliver a message or two. The room around her faded as voices from nearby booths turned into a dull murmur. Could she really trust this man? The weight of her decision pressed on her shoulders like a heavy shroud. What do you say? He asked, leaning forward again. There was an intensity in his gaze that sent shivers down her spine. She forced a laugh, masking the fear gripping her heart. I need more time to think. Time is the one thing you don't have, Jessica. His words clanged in her mind like a warning bell. Was this the opportunity she'd been waiting for? Or was it simply a trap disguised as a lifeline? As Ryan's gaze pinned her down, Jessica felt the gravity of her choice tighten around her. In that moment of stillness, she knew they were standing at the edge of something monumental, something that could reshape her entire life. But before she could gather her thoughts or summon a coherent response, the door swung open violently, and a figure burst through, causing a wave of tension to ripple through the diner. Jessica, the newcomer shouted, eyes wide with panic. Who's that? Ryan asked, visibly annoyed, his confidence wavering for the first time. Her heart dropped. This was turning into chaos, and she was at the center of it all. Who had just walked in, and how would it change everything she thought she knew? The man's face was familiar, yet something about it sent a jolt of adrenaline through her veins. In that instant, Jessica realized there was more at stake than just a simple decision. She was teetering on the edge of an abyss, and the time for choices was running out. The figure bursting through the door was Brian, her younger brother. His hair was disheveled, eyes wild as if he'd just run a marathon. Jessica felt a wave of relief at the sight of him, quickly mingling with dread. The diner's fluorescent lights seemed to flicker ominously in the silence that followed his shout. Jessica, you have to get out of here, he implored, his breath rapid and uneven, cheeks flush with panic. Ryan's posture stiffened, his charming facade cracking. What is going on? He demanded, glancing between them like a predator sizing up prey. Brian ignored him, eyes glued to Jessica. I saw someone looking for you, Jess. They've been asking around asking about the baby, about you. It's serious. A chill ran down Jessica's spine. What do you mean? Who is looking for me? Her voice trembled despite her attempt to sound steady. Brian took a step closer, dropping his voice to a whisper. Some guys in suits. They were hanging outside your apartment earlier. I didn't want to freak you out, but I don't care about that. I'm fine. The urgency in her voice caught Ryan's attention. His dark eyes sparkled with curiosity, but also with something else. Jeopardy. Yes, but what if you're not? We need to leave now, Brian insisted, his neat shirt crumpling at the edges from stress. She could see the very real fear etched on his face, and it felt like the ground shifted beneath her. Ryan leaned back in his seat, a slight smirk teasing at his lips. Looks like I wasn't the only one keeping an eye on you, Jessica. The way he spoke sent a shiver down her spine. Shut up, Ryan, she snapped, turning back to Brian. Are you sure they're looking for me? I heard them mention your name. They've been asking people at the grocery store and around the neighborhood. His words hit her like a punch to the gut. I thought you should know. I swear I didn't mean to put you in this mess. For a moment, the chatter from other patrons faded into a distant thrum. Jessica's mind raced. She thought of her apartment, the baby, the bills. Everything felt precarious, like a house of cards that could tumble any second. What do they want? She found it hard to breathe, anxiety pressing heavily against her chest. I don't know, but they didn't look friendly. We don't have time to figure it out. Ryan's expression shifted, his eyes narrowing slightly, assessing the situation with cold calculation. You could really have a way out, Jessica. All you have to do is say yes, he cooed, confidence growing as he spoke. I could protect you. With my connections, you wouldn't have to worry about those guys. Shut up. Jessica shot back, the reality of her precarious existence crashing into her like a wave. She turned to Brian. We can't stay here anymore. We need to go home and call the police. No, Brian interrupted, an edge of desperation in his voice. Not home. We can't risk it. The urgency wrapped around her like a noose. She glanced at Ryan, who leaned forward, his voice smooth but insistent. Join me. If you play your cards right, maybe those guys won't bother you again. You could be safe. Standing at the precipice, Jessica's heart raced. Could she trust him? The paradox of his offer weighed heavily on her, as desperation clashed with a gut feeling that she didn't quite understand. Before she could respond, there was a loud bang, the door slamming open once more. A figure in a dark hoodie stepped inside, shadows and menace spilling over the threshold. The diner's atmosphere shifted palpably as silence fell hard, thick with tension. What the hell is going on here? The newcomer growled, glancing from Brian to Jessica, then locking eyes with Ryan. Panic gripped Jessica as uncertainty flooded the air, thickening into something almost tangible. Who was this new player in her already chaotic life? What danger loomed just around the corner? In that moment, Jessica felt the walls closing in. Choices were extinguishing like the flickering neon lights above. Would she take a deal with Ryan or flee with her brother into the unknown? She faced the darkness ahead, knowing the time for decision was now. The figure stepped fully into the light, a dark silhouette against the backdrop of worn leather booths and tacky decor. Jessica felt her heart drop. He was taller than most, his hood concealing his face, but the glint of steel peeking from beneath his jacket caught the light. Panic surged through her. Jessica, the figure rumbled, his voice low and dangerous. It's time to come with me. She swallowed hard, glancing at Brian. His face was pale, eyes wide with fear. Run, he hissed, but the words hung in the air, tethered by the weight of their reality. Ryan's chair scraped against the floor as he stood. What is this about? He stepped in front of Jessica defensively, but the newcomer barely glanced at him. You're blocking my way, the figure snarled, impatience lacing his tone. Back off. Ryan shot back, fists clenched. The tension felt like a thick fog, wrapping around everyone. Who are you? Jessica managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. The question seemed to echo, lost amidst the rising chaos. The man took a step forward, eyes narrowing. That's not what's important. What matters is you're in danger. Those guys. He tilted his chin toward Ryan. They're not who you think they are. You're trying to scare her, Ryan barked. Nice trick. But she's with me. You're not taking her anywhere. Jessica felt a spark of uncertainty with Ryan at the center of this drama. Who was the stranger? And why did he seem so familiar with her predicament? The questions raced through her mind. Jessica, the man spoke, focusing on her. You know the baby is at risk. The people I'm with. He hesitated, glancing around the diner. They're looking for you because you know too much. We need to leave now. The words sank deep into her heart, like lead. She could feel the weight of her decisions pressing down on her, smothering any trace of rational thought. Brian's hand tightened on her arm. Let us go, Jess. We can't stay here. Ryan's voice cut like glass. You really trust him? Knowing nothing about what he wants? You're better off with me. A heated debate swirled within Jessica. The urgency of the situation screamed at her to act, to make a choice. But with every tick of the clock, the walls of the diner felt closer, the sense of impending doom thickening. Jessica, we need to go, Brian urged again, scanning the diner for any signs of trouble. Suddenly, the door swung open again, a gust of cold air swirling in as another figure entered. This one was older, and the power that emanated from him was palpable. I thought I'd find you here, he said, a sinister smile stretching across his lips as he locked eyes with Jessica. The urgency twisted into panic. Who was this man? What kind of danger was she trapped in now? Her heart raced, thoughts swirling like leaves in a storm. Brian pulled her closer, the fear in his eyes mirroring her own. Jessica, we need to make a choice. Now. Jessica's breath came in ragged gasps. The man in the hoodie stepped even closer, his voice steady. You can trust me. I know what they want, and I can help you get away. Something deep inside her stirred hope battling the dread. But trust? Could she really trust a stranger, a man with a knife, over Ryan's promise of safety? And as she stood there, torn between three very different paths, The din of the diner faded, the tension crackling in the air. Time was slipping away, decisions weighty and terrifying. A baby's cry echoed in her mind, sweet and vulnerable. She had to protect her child at all costs. With a shaky breath, she opened her mouth to speak, just as the door crashed open again and chaos erupted. The shattering sound of glass welcomed the dark figure rushing in, dragging chaos with him. A wave of whispers cascaded through the diner, as eyes widened in disbelief. "Get down," he barked, drawing everyone's attention like a magnet. Jessica flinched, heart hammering in her chest as she instinctively ducked behind Ryan. Her gaze darted around, seeking any exit. The flickering neon lights painted a surreal scene, shadows dancing on the walls as more customers hit the floor. The air tasted of fear and desperation, a cocktail ripe for disaster. "Move," the newcomer yelled, racing toward Jessica and the hooded man, who remained unmoved like a dark statue. People scrambled, chairs overturned in their haste, but Jessica's feet felt glued to the ground, paralyzed by dread. "What is happening?" she gasped, grabbing Brian's arm. "Is he one of them?" Brian whispered, panic etched across his face as he swept his eyes between the two men, searching for clues. "We don't have time for this," the newcomer shouted, urging them toward the back of the diner. For a moment, she caught the older figure smirk at the stranger. Something sinister flickered behind those eyes, like a predator sizing up his prey. "Jessica." The hooded figure slammed his hands on the table as he stepped forward. "You need to trust me. They're here for you. No one else matters." Ryan inhaled sharply, fear radiating from him. "Get away from her." His voice was raw, shaking the very core of Jessica's resolve. Was he trying to protect her, or was this just another twisted game in a dangerous world she never asked to be part of? The door swung open again, blasting icy air inside, so surreal amidst the chaos. It was a second man, younger, with messy hair and eyes that looked like they had seen too much. He slid to a halt, scanning the diner. "Where is she?" he barked. Panic rose within Jessica. That was the same tone she'd heard from the other men lurking in the shadows outside her apartment. "Who are you?" she gasped, feeling like a trapped animal. "Stay close," the newcomer urged, gripping her arm. "I'll explain later, but we have to get out of here if we want to keep you and your baby safe." It was a weighty promise, but the faces around her revealed the danger lurking just beyond the safety of the diner's walls. Were they really here to protect her? Or would the struggle inevitably turn to betrayal? Each second felt elongated as tension snapped in the air. The hooded figure laughed darkly, dismissing the newcomer. "You're out of your depth. You think you can protect her? You're just as compromised as everyone else." As sirens began to wail in the distance, Jessica felt despair claw at her. She had no idea who to trust, no idea if any of them were telling the truth. But with her baby at stake, there was no time for hesitation, no time to hesitate. "Jessica," the younger man pressed, desperation in his voice. "We can't waste any more time. Are you coming with me? Or do we stay here and face the consequences?" Her stomach churned. Seconds felt like hours, and with chaos spiraling around her, she braced herself for what came next. "Choose," Ryan shouted, drawing a line in the sand. The moment hung heavy in the air, sharp and electric. As eyes fixed on her, waiting, everything felt like it was about to break. Jessica took a breath, ready to step toward the unknown, when the door crashed open one last time, and the world she thought she knew unraveled before her. The door swung wide, shuddering on its hinges, and a blast of frigid air whipped through the diner like a warning siren. Jessica froze, heart catching in her throat. The figure that entered was larger, cloaked in authority, and shadows clung to him like a second skin. Behind him came a surge of uniformed men, guns drawn, their faces hard and unforgiving. Gasps erupted around her, the scent of panic stirring the already tense atmosphere. "FBI, everyone stay where you are," the large man commanded, voice booming as if it could physically enforce compliance. Jessica's stomach dropped. This can't be happening. Hillside hadn't seen a real crime in years, and now this? She felt sweat bead on her forehead, slick and threatening, as she grasped Brian's arm tighter. "What do we do?" she whispered, terror edging her voice. "Play along," Ryan hissed, eyes darting between the armed men and the chaos gathering around them. "Just stay calm." But calm was elusive, a cruel joke that danced just out of reach. The hooded figure stepped forward, defiance blazing in his eyes. "You need her alive," he snarled, the menace in his tone unmistakable. "You don't have to do this. We can help you find what you're looking for." The leader of the FBI squad smirked, eyebrows raised. "Help or hinder? You're a liability, and I'm not playing games." The diner, once a sanctuary of mugs and coffee, felt like a cage slowly closing in. Jessica's pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out the sounds of her surroundings. She glanced to the left, where the younger newcomer remained tense, muscles coiling, ready to spring into action. "Time's running out," he said, urgency thick in his voice. "Jessica, they want to take you. They're not who they say they are." Those words grazed her sanity. She was already spiraling, drowning in confusion. Who wanted her? And why? The answer danced just outside her understanding. "Don't listen to him," the hooded figure shouted back. "He plays for their side. He has been tracking you since the beginning." A collective gasp rippled through the diner, and the tension escalated, like a live wire humming with barely contained energy. Jessica's mind spun with dizzying revelations. Guilt and fear wrestled. Which side was right? The weight of the world hung on her shoulders, shoving her deeper into despair. But in her gut burned one undeniable reality. She had to protect her baby. "Stop," she cried, voice breaking through the din. "I need to know the truth." The men turned, their eyes hard, and for an instant, silence blanketed the frantic cries and heavy breathing. "You have one chance, Jessica," the large man growled, stepping closer. "Come with us, and we promise your baby will be safe. Or stay here, and I can't guarantee anyone will leave unscathed." Every pair of eyes was now fixed on her, waiting, expecting her to unravel the chaos unfolding before them. She felt the weight of their gazes, 1,000 silent prayers hanging in the air. Could she trust him? Did she even have a choice? Swallowing hard, slipping her hand from Brian's grip and taking a tiny step forward, the uncertainty wrapped around her like a noose. Just as she was about to speak, a blaring horn echoed outside, breaking through the tension. The third man, a stranger previously invisible, burst back through the door, eyes wide with terror. "They're coming. We have to move now." Jessica's heart raced, the call to choose long abandoned. The world closed in, swirling with threats and ultimatums. In that instant, she realized, whatever was out there, it was more terrifying than anything she faced inside the diner. And her baby's life teetered on the edge. What happened next would change everything. "Move," the stranger shouted, eyes wild, and seconds later, chaos erupted in the diner. Tables scraped against the floor as terrified patrons scrambled for the exits, screams slicing through the air. Jessica's heart raced as she took another cautious step forward. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but the gravity of the men's words anchored her in place. "Get her out of here," the large man barked at his agents, his voice rising above the din. The urgency in his tone sent chills down Jessica's spine. She glanced towards Brian, his eyes wide with fear, desperation swirling within them. "Stay close," he urged, reaching for her. But a surge of panic ripped through her. The hooded figure had shifted, positioning himself between Jessica and the approaching agents, a protective force desperate to shield her from danger. "We don't have time for this," he yelled, but the determination in his voice hid a flicker of fear. Something in that tone resonated with her. It was not just bravado. It was raw desperation, the kind that came when all hope seemed to wane. Outside, the blaring horn echoed again, this time high-pitched and harsh, accompanied by the roar of an engine. Jessica could hardly breathe. The outside world had turned into a nightmare, and she stood at the center of it, with her baby's future hanging precariously in the balance. "They're coming for her," the stranger screamed again, darting closer to Jessica. "We can't stay here. Just a moment," she cried, feeling herself unraveling. The walls seemed to close in, thickening with fear and uncertainty. She wanted to ask so many questions, to figure out who could be trusted, but the clock was ticking, and in that moment, every second felt like an eternity. She scanned the room, her eyes flickering across terrified faces, hardened agents, and a looming fear that threatened to choke the life out of her. Then, the truth hit her, an understanding of the stakes she never wanted to grasp. "They need me," Jessica realized, voice trembling under its weight. Whatever this is about, it all circles back to me. The large man's expression stiffened, as if confirming her suspicions. Jessica, we have a plan. We can keep you safe. Trust us. But how could she? Every fleeting moment was tainted with hesitation. Could she trust someone who seemed to have their own motives? Another blast from outside sent vibrations through the diner. The sirens roared closer, threatening to split the night sky wide open. Adrenaline coursed through her veins. What about my baby? She cried, tears brimming. What is going to happen? The tension thickened, a silent war of wills. The hooded figure turned, locking his eyes with hers, and for a moment, time stood still. Listen to me, Jessica, he urged, voice low, nearly a whisper in the frantic atmosphere. You must choose. You can't stay here, it won't end well. But your baby, we can protect your baby. We just need to get out. His words ignited a spark of hope, catching her breath. It was a risk, but was there any other option? Igniting the last remnants of her resolve, she clutched the side of one of the booths, preparing for the chaos that loomed ahead. Let us go. A voice cut through the haze, shrill and panicked, as an agent made his way to the entrance, gun raised. The hooded figure sidestepped to block her view, ready to counter any move. And then without warning, the front windows shattered, and a flash of light sliced through the diner like a bolt of lightning. Jessica gasped, her heart leaping into her throat, as screams filled the air. We need to move, now? The large man shouted again, urgency morphing into frantic energy, shattering the hesitation that had frozen them all. Fingers trembling, Jessica made her choice. She turned to Brian, desperation etched on her face. Come with me. As she started to move, her breath caught in her throat. Shadows slipped across the floor, deep and suffocating. The door had become a battlefield, safety or peril. But her baby depended on the choice she was about to make. The shattering of glass echoed through the diner, and Jessica charged forward, heart pounding, uncertainty shaking her core. She had stepped into a world where every decision teetered on a razor's edge, where the safety of her family was a fragile thread. Would they escape? Would they all survive? And most crucially, could she protect her baby against the dark forces closing in? The answers loomed in the darkness ahead, waiting to strike. The slicing scream of sirens pierced the air, drowning out the chaos inside the diner, just as the world outside erupted in a surge of headlights. Jessica's breath quickened. She felt her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Echoes of shattering glass clung to her ears, a haunting reminder of the terror unfolding. Keep moving. The large man yelled again, and Jessica felt the grip of fear squeeze her tighter. She darted toward the exit, Brian close behind as their shadows flickered in the diner's dim light. But shadows weren't the only thing looming. The hooded figure flanked them, a silent sentinel watching every move, ready to pounce on attackers in an instant. Just as they neared the door, a surge of bodies rushed past them, pushing Jessica and Brian back into the chaos. They're here. The hooded figure shouted, urgency slicing through the air that Jessica's heart sank. She turned to Brian, his face pale and taut with fear. We have to get out. Now, she said, her voice trembling, but the diner's entrance erupted in chaos. Agents surged in, their expressions grim, weapons drawn. Everyone down. One shouted. The urgency turned the once familiar space into a battleground that a gun clattered to the floor, and Jessica stumbled backward, grappling for stability. Her mind raced. Who was targeting them? Why were they after her? The large man pushed through the tumult. Follow me, he shouted, pointing toward a narrow corridor at the back of the diner. Without thinking, propelled by sheer instinct, Jessica grasped Brian's hand and followed him as they rushed toward the possibility of escape. Yet the corridor felt like a maze, each turn revealing more chaos, a sound of shouting, thudding footsteps, and the unmistakable crack of gunfire somewhere ahead. Every noise sent electric jolts through her. Do you know where this leads? She gasped, desperation flooding her words. The large man barely glanced back, his face set in steely determination. There's an exit at the end. We'll be safe together, just keep running. He urged. The fear bubbled within her, threatening to spill over. I can't leave my baby, she protested, the thought of the tiny life depending on her tearing at her resolve. They want to come for the baby. They want you. His voice was tight. Trust me. We're almost there. They barreled down the hall, the noise of chaos receding behind them. Her heart raced, pounding harder as the fear overpowered her logic. She risked a glance back, taking in the scene as they moved, bodies scattered, chaos erupting. A table upended, a woman collapsed, hands clutching her head. A sharp clanging noise, and suddenly, the door at the end of the corridor swung wide open, a blast of cold air hitting her like a slap. Beyond it lay another world, darkness, but a promise of escape. Go, the large man urged, his voice raw with urgency. Jessica pushed through the door, a wild rush of adrenaline. Brian followed closely behind, but before they could step completely outside, the sound of footsteps echoed again, closer this time. She had no time to think. Just as they crossed the threshold, a figure loomed in the darkness. It was a man, but before she could register his face or intentions, he lunged forward with terrifying speed, a flash of metal gleaming in his hand. "Stop right there," he roared, voice dripping with menace. Jessica's heart dropped. The reality crashed down around her. They weren't safe yet, and choices suddenly became heavier than stones. She felt the weight of responsibility crushing her, while uncertainty battered against her, relentless. And then, just as she willed her feet to move, she locked eyes with the stranger. He was clearly there for her. But was he a friend or a foe? Questions dashed through her mind like lightning. Who was this new threat? Would her baby's future remain hidden in this shadowy web of danger? In one agonizing moment, fate flickered like a candle, poised to either extinguish or ignite the spark of hope she so desperately clung to. The man in the darkness was alive with menace, his eyes piercing through the shadows like daggers. Jessica took a frantic step backward, her mind racing with the flooding fear of the unknown. The metallic glint he wielded danced in the moonlight. Was it a knife? Her instincts screamed at her to run, but her body felt paralyzed, caught in the grip of fear. "Let her go," the large man shouted, stepping in front of Jessica protectively. The stranger hesitated, narrowed his eyes, and then laughed, a dark, chilling sound that sent shivers down her spine. "You have something we want. You're coming with me, whether you like it or not." "No," Jessica gasped, clutching Brian's hand tighter, almost shaking with terror. She felt the pulse of adrenaline pound in her ears. This was it, the moment that could shatter her world completely or save it. The hooded figure from the diner appeared behind Jessica, repositioning himself as if a shield, his own weapon poised and ready. "Back off," he warned, his voice low and gravelly. "You don't want to do this." The stranger's smirk faded for a moment as his gaze flickered toward the newcomer. It was a fraction of a second, but in that moment, something dark and sinister sparked in his expression. He lunged, disappearing into the shadows with eerie speed. "Run!" the large man yelled, shoving Jessica and Brian further into the night. They stumbled into the cool air, but not before hearing a clash of metals. The sound of a struggle erupted behind them. The outside world felt foreign, the chaos of the diner echoing still in her ears. Headlights swept across them, bringing with it an uneasy sense of brightness that felt stark against the dark memories clawing at her. Jessica didn't stop to look back, unable to bear it. She pulled Brian into the nearby alley, their only refuge. "Where do we go now?" Brian whispered, his voice shaking. Fear etched across his face. Jessica was at a loss. "I don't know. Just stay close." Her resolve faltered. The prospect of the unknown weighed it down to an anchor on her heart. That a honk reverberated against the walls as a car screeched to a halt nearby. Jessica's heart raced again. What if it was them? But as she peeked out, she found a pair of frantic eyes staring back at her, a woman, beseeching them. "Over here. Get in," the woman urged, waving them over. Without a second thought, Jessica grasped Brian's wrist and dashed toward the car, praying it was a lifeline instead of a trap. As they slid into the back seat, Jessica caught a quick glance at the driver, a man, his face lined with worry. "What the hell is going on?" he spat, his knuckles white around the steering wheel. "They're after us," Jessica blurted, still breathless from the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "We need to get out of here." The car took off, jolting them in their seats. She watched the rearview mirror, once again terrified that they would be followed. The world they'd just escaped faded into darkness, but the questions swirled like a storm inside her mind. Who was that man? Was he truly after her, or was there more to the story, hidden beneath shadows? "What are we going to do?" Brian asked, his voice trembling. The woman turned to them, concern etched deep in her features. You have to tell me everything. They may not be far behind. Do you know who was chasing you? Jessica felt the lump in her throat again, all her fears clawing back, forcing her to confront the truth for the first time. She had no idea what was waiting around the corner, but one thing was certain: the danger was far from over. As the city lights blurred by, a sudden realization hit Jessica like a train. If they were coming for her, they would never stop until they found her or silenced her forever. The inside of the car felt like a boardroom of secrets, hidden truths that could change everything. She took a sharp breath. Would she be able to protect her baby and uncover the truth before it was too late? What would she risk to save the only future she had left? The tension in the car was thick, wrapping around Jessica like a suffocating blanket. It felt like the whole world had turned upside down since the moment she stepped into the diner. The city lights blurred past them, a continuous stream of life contrasting sharply with the chaos churning inside her. Please, the woman in the front seat turned to them urgently. Tell me everything. I can't protect you if I don't know what is really going on. Jessica glanced at Brian, his face pale with fear and uncertainty. He looked as lost as she felt. All I know is, they're after me because of Caleb, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the screeching tires. I don't know why, but there are men in suits who've been asking about us. Men in suits? The man behind the wheel echoed, his brows furrowing with concern. We need to get you somewhere safe. They won't stop until they get what they want, and it sounds like you're their target. What do they want? Brian asked, his voice quaking. I have no idea, but I'm terrified they want to use him. Jessica's throat tightened, waves of fear crashing into her. They want my baby. The truth hung in the air like a heavy fog. Protecting Caleb was her only priority. Panic threatened to swallow her whole. Look, Jessica, stay calm, the woman instructed, her voice smooth but firm. We're part of a network that helps mothers like you. But you must trust us. I know it's hard, but we can protect you. As the car weaved through narrow alleyways, a glimmer of hope flickered in Jessica's chest. How can I trust you? It feels like everyone I meet has their own agenda. I get it, the woman replied softly. But we're different. We've been watching, and we know you're in danger. You're not alone. A small spark of warmth spread in Jessica's heart. For the first time since this whirlwind began, someone wasn't just looking out for their own interests. What is your name? Jessica asked, her gaze steady, desperate for a connection in this storm of uncertainty. I'm Claire. We're going to help you, but you have to keep faith in us. Claire nodded, her expression a mixture of determination and empathy, a combination Jessica desperately craved. You have to listen and do exactly as I say. As Claire navigated into quieter parts of the city, Jessica felt the chaos of the diner behind them, distant yet heavy. The sirens were still echoing in her mind, a grim reminder of the nightmare lurking just outside their humble refuge. Claire turned onto a side road, skirting the main traffic, before pulling the car into a secluded garage. This will be our safe house for now, she said, her tone lightening even as the weight of the world pressed down. Jessica glanced at Brian, who finally let out a breath he'd been holding. We're safe? For real? For now, Claire reassured them, unlocking the door before stepping out. Follow me. They stepped into a dimly lit building that smelled slightly of fresh paint. Heart pounding, Jessica clutched Brian's hand tighter. As they moved deeper into the small space, it felt like every shadow held secrets, mirroring her own. Claire led them to a small room with a sofa nestled in the corner. Sit down. I'll get you some water, she said, her voice gentle. As they settled in, the door swung shut, muffling the chaos of the world outside. Jessica took a moment to breathe, feeling the tension in her body slowly wane, but the questions still haunted her. What was happening? Why were they after her? Jessica, Brian whispered, breaking through her thoughts. Do you think they'll really stop coming after us? What if we have to run again? What if they find us here? I won't let that happen, she promised, her voice carrying a weight of determination she didn't entirely feel. I'll protect you. I swear. The lump in her throat thickened, but this time, it was mixed with that spark of hope, brilliant and fragile. The door opened again, and Claire returned with 2 glasses of water. Listen, there's something you need to know, she said carefully, taking a seat across from them. They're after a file that connects you two. Something much bigger than you realize. What do you mean? Jessica's chest tightened at Claire's words. There are powerful people involved, people who don't play by the rules. They believe you know something that could unravel their plans. Jessica's heart raced as the weight of those words sunk in. What could she possibly know? Right now, you're in a dangerous game, Claire continued. And as long as we can keep you away from their watchful eyes, we can figure this out. But you need to trust me. Jessica nodded, swallowing hard. Trust. It was something she had to give, despite all the chaos she'd faced. What do we do now? We lay low for a bit. I'll contact the others. They'll help us find out exactly what we're dealing with, Claire reassured her. They shared a steady moment, a quiet understanding knitting a fragile bond of hope between them. Just then, the sound of tires screeching interrupted their silence. Jessica froze, adrenaline surging again through her veins. What was that? She whispered, anxiety creeping in. Claire's expression hardened. Stay here. With that, she bolted out of the room, and Jessica felt every second stretch painfully. Her heart raced as she exchanged worried glances with Brian. The world outside was still chasing them, a dark wave threatening to engulf them once more in that tension-filled space. Nestled between fear and hope, a storm brewed. Whatever waited outside had come for them, and in that moment, the chaos wasn't done yet. They needed to make a last stand, not just for themselves, but for Caleb. Jessica felt the flames of resolve burn bright in her. Knowing she'd do whatever it took to protect the future, she desperately fought for a future where her choice could tip the scales of fate forever. Would it be worth it? Only time would reveal the truth as the world loomed, dark and uncertain, just beyond the door. And then, a loud crash echoed through the hallway. Jessica felt the spark of her determination ignite into a blazing fire. The fight wasn't over yet. Now was the moment to act. And whatever came next, she would meet it head-on. The choice was made. She would face the storm head-on and emerge on the other side, unyielding and fierce. Because for Caleb, she would fight to the very end. But first, they had to survive the night. And in the maze of shadows, Jessica found her strength rising, ready to shield her family from the darkness. This was just the beginning, and she would ensure it would end on her terms. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear your thoughts. And don't forget, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to show your support now.